Welcome to my pre-ride of Essen. This is my first time ever riding this course, and you're looking at my, I think it's second lap on the course out of the whole 2 laps that I did for pre-ride. This is the start-finish straight, and it's pretty short. We head right into this little slight right-hand, swooping left-hand turn, a pretty rough surface, but a nice rut ended up forming here, up this steep little pitch, which is obviously really soon in the lap, across the tabletop, little punch down, and into this surface that's a lot of the course here. It's like a heavy, sandy mud across that weird, kind of cobbly, weird lattice surface. To our right is pit 1, and through the heavy grass here and more of this weird, wet, soupy sand. The grass was pretty heavy, and I found that if you stayed higher, that it was better even if the line was a little bit lower. And it felt like throughout the day, the lower lines were getting heavier and heavier. Little right-hand, left-hand turn off of the camber. That ended up a little bit wide on that turn. And into this, construction zone. I don't know what's going on here. How long do they take to put the tires into the side? Who knows? The awkwardness that you see of me navigating this is as awkward as it was to ride. So the turn here, I kept trying to take it wide, but that was not the line. In the race, I ended up keeping it much tighter, and the ground to the left ended up staying much firmer as the race went on. So this is a nice little stair onto the scaffolding here, awkward short steps. Immediate right-hand turn off of the scaffolding down a pretty steep pitch onto this kind of polished concrete paver stones and back onto the rough grass. You see how rough it is. And then up this little pitch here, and I don't know where this line came from, if this is a pre-ride line or a feature that people just ride their bikes on normally, but why would it be that close to the posts? Who would just choose to ride there? I'm not sure. That was a fun little downhill, swooping left-hand turn, and you could carry a lot of speed and barely even pedal up this little pitch. Quick down and across this little muddy bog, left, right, and then a tight left-hander. So this turn, my first lap, I ended up to the right of that pole because it was just so heavy. It ended up being a turn that after the first 2 laps of me botching it so badly, I ended up running that one turn. So now we take a quick up-down, and you're like, oh, look, a quick turn and another up-down. You know what? This is so fun. I'm going to do it 72 more times. Seriously, these things just keep happening. Quentin Hermans was joking that they're glad that the promoters of Essen were able to put on a race this year, but that they know nothing of course design, and perhaps they had too many poles. Which I would agree with that sentiment after doing this up, down so many times. By the way, we're not done. We are still going. One more up and over and down. And I think that's the last one. Strangely enough, the course is pretty wet, but the traction on those it was great. Pedaling up it wasn't a problem. I think I ran one the first lap. The person in front of me dismounted, and I just decided that was a good idea. So lot of turns down on this part of the course. And so obviously right now a bunch of women are pre-riding, and especially with new junior and U23 races, the elite women are sort of the first ones on the course. And anybody who rides cyclocross knows that people on courses change the conditions. And this year in Europe has been an interesting time, for me at least, to pre-ride, and I think many others, because our laps are changing as we pre-ride 1, 2, 3 laps in, and then we get off of our bikes and we're cleaning up to warm up for our race, and then pre-ride. So then when we start our race, like for instance this corner had a really nice rut formed in it, but then this part was even more chewed up after the men pre-rode. So it was just hard to know, should I be on the right, should I be on the left? I ended up trying to hug that fence line pretty tightly. And it was so chewed up after the men pre-rode that most of these turns that you're seeing me take, the lines I pre-rode kind of meant nothing, and I was taking all of them pretty wide, just trying to stay in the green grass, and was able to hold a lot of speed. I found a lot of people trying to pass on the inside, and without luck. Here's some barriers. They were wooden barriers with like a rounded top. Seemed very interesting. This turn got a nice rut formed in it thanks to the men. And this comes onto an interesting part of the course. Again, a bit of a rough section, and this bog is a nice thing to lower your speed, which you want because this, again, I don't know if it's polished concrete or what it is. It's fairly slick, and then you have these wet leaves, and the speed that you're seeing me go here might actually be faster than the speed that I was taking this section in the race. I actually did my first lap. I did a brake test. I braked as hard as I thought it was worth trying to see how much my tires would slide, and I did get my rear wheel to slide even before I locked my tire up, I swear. So taking a little pause here to watch the girl in front of me take this feature. It was sort of the only, I don't know, questionable feature on the course.
This reminds me of one of the off-camber turns at Cincy.
The only thing that you
when you're like going around the top of a knoll and
so you're just
like,
kind of riding this
off-camber
around this knoll. I'm trying to take the low line to ride up, but I completely missed the line. I bounced out of it, and now I'm just going to walk back up and under the tape to try again. I've just watched Katie Keogh and Clara Hansinger go through. It looks like they didn't have success riding it that time. I try again, and again I go for the low line and I try to pedal out, and more success staying in the line, but I just didn't quite have the gumption to get up and out. After realizing that nobody was really making it, I just sort of gave up and descended that feature and came up the stairs. Again, these weird pleated scaffolding stairs with an immediate turn at the top across the bridge. And then a tight right-hand turn and another steep drop onto this. This section was actually really rocky, and it dictated my tire pressure because I know that I'm going fast through here, and there were a lot of hidden rocks, and I was just a little bit worried about flatting. The course had a weird surface all around because the grass was heavy, the mud was heavy, it was wet, but it wasn't sticky. It was, I don't know, heavy and rocky. It was just very strange. So here's this heavy turn, ended up even heavier by race time, and now we're circling around, and this is going to be pit 2. If you would have cut that on the inside of the post, you'd be entering pit 2. And this is another, I was just telling Greg, my mechanic there, that this is my last lap and he can no longer stand in this muddy field. So these little steep punches here were less fun towards the end of the race with heavy legs. Luckily with all of these you come in with a lot of speed, so it was pretty easy to roll them, but they also had a lot of rocks on them, and I was always a little bit nervous about flatting, but it never was an issue. This turn I needed to keep my eyes up more for this right hand turn, but I don't know, I didn't keep my eyes up. I stared at the fence and almost hit it every time.
Yep.
Another up, down. So this turn, these two were a little bit awkward. I mean, not awkward, they were actually pretty fun because they weren't completely square up, down, so you were sort of able to carve around them. And on this one, if you stayed tighter by race time, that's where the line was. It was a little bit drier, and you didn't have to go through that like near concrete of mud. A little up, down, another turn. This is another turn I should have kept my head up and my eyes through, but instead I love making eye contact with the fences. Little transition onto the, again, this, I don't know, polished concrete. I keep calling it that. I don't know what the surface is. It's definitely a little bit more slick than your standard concrete, but it's not like a tile or anything. So on those transitions where you're going from, oh god, by the way, this section, super bumpy and annoying, and it was, you know, your legs were just static trying to stay off the saddle so you could stay a little bit more steady, and it was hard on the legs. But what I was going to say is those transitions when you're going from grass onto a sidewalk or a road, you've got to really be careful when you're going from pre-ride to race and where people are riding. So like this, you have the sandbag, Sandbag was a little bit more of an awkward line, but I took it because it was safer. Because sometimes, especially in the U.S., but you'll find that people take the same line and they erode until pretty soon you'll get a pinch point that wasn't there before, and you might hit rim and flat your tires. And this, I'm wondering if any of the races came to a finish sprint, because this is the finish line, and you see that last little turn there. Yeah, it was off of that polished concrete and across some mulch, and if you take it too fast, you're in the 80% zone. Now I'm going in to just finish my lap. I just wanted to come into that turn a little bit hot, and I'm glad that I did, because again, that turn was the kind of the whole shot of the race, and I wanted to do it at speed. And now I'm going to go through I don't know where the heck this race is. Like, what is this ground? Is it a construction zone? Is it just a field? Like, what's going on? I don't know. But anyway, pre-ride is done. Thanks for joining me. Sorry this field in course was a little bit less exciting than something as exciting as Namur. And tomorrow, or who knows by the time you're listening to this, but I will be doing Herentals, and we'll see what that course is like. It's a new one, so join me for that. Subscribe. Thanks.